come on up to the podium. Oh, where did it go? Why did it do that? Uh-oh.
Oh, it's just my.
Why is this?
Are we allowed to move the
Well, you're not supposed to read off your slides.
Right.
So it's really kind of, you can, but,
That's fine.
all right, I don't know why your thing is not sharing with me now. Let's see. Slideshow from the beginning. There it is. Okay.
That is so nice.
Very nice. All right. Female reproductive system, essential organs and their function. Is this your only slide?
We're
You have two.
doing the accessories too, so
We broke it up into two.
Okay, so just do essential. So if you have accessory next, don't move on to, yeah, that's gonna be for a whole nother
Okay.
section, okay? All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, we had the female, essential organs and their functions. So it consists of the female gonads, which are the ovaries, and they're paired. There's a right and a left. They actually produce the ova or ovum. Their main function is to produce and store the ova to become fertilized later on. They also produce the hormones progesterone and estrogen. And then the ova.
So the ova are inside the gonads or the ovaries. Fun fact, we're actually born with all of our ova that we're gonna have for our entire lives. So we're born with them, we have them as a baby. The ova, their main function is to be, like, they're stored inside the gonads and then they go through the fallopian tubes down to the uterus, where if there was sperm, they would be fertilized. They come through the fallopian tube once every 21 to 28 days.
Okay. That it?
Yes.
All right. Good. All right, let's move on to our males now. And if you guys want to, take out your notes, you can take notes on this. That was a beautiful rendition. I will correct one thing from that. Does anybody have anything they can correct from their statement at all that they picked up on that was just kind of incorrect?
Can we do it after the rebuttal? Or it's not gonna matter?
Well, it's just a fact I'd like to change, and that's all.
What was it?
So and this is just for your own sake, when your egg is getting fertilized, so, and you guys should just know this, and I'll do this throughout because this is also how I like to lecture, right? I don't like to lecture sitting in the front. So you have your tubes, and you have your uterus, and you have your tubes, right? When that sperm comes in, it actually fertilizes the egg in the fallopian tube, not in the uterus.
Oh, yeah.
So the sperm actually has to go all the way to the fallopian tube in order to fertilize that egg. It doesn't get fertilized in the uterus. It attaches to the uterus, and that was correct. But it does not get fertilized there. Fertilization actually happens in the fallopian tubes. Just so you guys know. It's an important fact. All right, male reproductive system. Who's doing our introduction?
Alex and oh, we both are. Yeah. You read. No, you read the introduction because we had an introduction. We had an introduction.
So, okay, this is a great question. She asked, she's heard about babies getting stuck in the fallopian tube, right? And what is that called, do we know? An ectopic pregnancy. So that's when fertilization happens too far in that tube, and it comes out and it attaches in the fallopian tube. And if a baby starts to grow in that little tiny fallopian tube, it'll burst. And so that'll be an ectopic pregnancy, be very painful for that woman. So, and that is what that is when the baby's does not attach in the uterus. The uterus is developed, it's huge, it stretches very large, so it can hold a baby, but the tube can't. But that is the exact reason for an ectopic pregnancy.
So
Good call.
the fertilization happens in the fallopian tube, and then that egg travels to the urethra.
Yeah, so the fertilized egg travels down still further to the uterus and then attaches, correct. But sometimes it attaches incorrectly in the fallopian tube, and then you get an ectopic pregnancy. All right, good. All right, let's go with the male.
Okay, good morning. We're going to talk about male reproduction, but before that, let's say something about in general the reproduction system, which is very different and important because it's different than any other organized system, which is not only maintain the one individual survival, is the whole species survival. The sexual reproduction requires parents, two parents, a male and a female. They contribute half of the chromosomes to produce the offsprings. Asexual reproduction is only one person who produces offsprings, but with identical itself. There's no variable. So the advantage of sexual reproduction is that the new mixture of offsprings increase the variety, which is very important with any disease or something that happens. The reproduction system from each parent produce the gametes, with in females is the name ovum, and in males is the sperm. And they both together produce the first offspring, the zygote. The zygote, after development, complicated development, become into the first offspring or individual organism. Also the reproductive system produce hormones, which is the regulate the development of the secondary characteristic, which is promote the successful reproduction. Now Liz is gonna talk about the
Essential organs.
Yes.
All right. I love how your slides are so manly and you're
Yeah.
so feminine. It's
Essential organs. So in the male gonads, as well as in the female gonads, sex glands in the male called testes that produce the mighty sex cells in the male. The spermatozoa, or as commonly called, the sperm. Let's not forget that the testes also produce a very important hormone, testosterone. The testes are in the pouch-like scrotum, strategically located and suspended outside of the body cavity to maintain a cooler temperature than the body. Allows for normal sex cell production and survival of the sperm. The testes prepare for sperm precursor stem cells called spermatogonia. And that is it for the male essential organ.
lovely. All right, well, do they want a rebuttal? Now again, you can tag someone in if you want somebody else to come and rebuttal, that's fine. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
You ready? Yeah.
For the testosterone, we found out in our information that if the man has low testosterone, that his sperm count actually reduces and his testes reduce in size. So that's a document for the testosterone.
Yeah, so after that, but you only get one. You only get one and one, so this, if you have more, you would say it now.
And we also found out that high testosterone in a man increased the risk of blood clots.
So it's not as mighty. Sounds like it's very and they got mighty.
Good job.
All right, do we have a rebuttal back from you guys?
Today.
Y'all gonna think about it?
Respect.
Yeah, respect.
We doing it, we got
Okay, so yes, testosterone could have an effect definitely on the production of the sperm. But let's put it out there that semen that is ejaculated at one time in each a milliliter normally contains one ejaculation, 100 million sperm. Semen is slightly alkaline, and this protects the sperm from acidic environment of the female reproductive tract. However, yes, with low testosterone, we have as well.
In comparison, anyways, because the truth of the matter is, yes, that might be a fact, but we're here to actually say why the male reproductive system is superior. So in comparison for women, the comparison hormone would be estrogen, right? So usually during menopause, for example, like with age, when there's a huge like nosedive, basically. Normally for women, there is 30 to 400 picograms per milliliter of estrogen inside of a woman, but that completely, or not completely, but it takes a huge nosedive and it drops below 30 picograms. So say for a normal woman, if let's say for example, meet somewhere in the middle around 200 picograms within the woman's body of that hormone, and you're dropping down below 30, that takes a huge effect on not only their their libido, for example, but then also too for
It affects the thyroid.
it affects their mood, it affects their appearance, and a lot of other things. So, and it's for men it's easily fixed with medication, which I'm not gonna go all into right now, but just as a
Great. All right, we got our research. All right, next is gonna be our accessory organs. So let's see who's going first on that. Good, that was a good first one. Oh, is it not up? All right. Male is going first on the accessory.
Okay.
Is that you guys again?
Okay. Alrighty, accessory organs. So we're gonna start off with the external genitals in the male. The penis is the organ that, when made stiff and erect by the filling of its spongy or erectile tissue elements with blood during sexual arousal, can enter and deposit sperm in the vagina during intercourse.
And once it enters into the vagina, obviously the sperm goes in to find the egg. It also has accessory glands, the prostate gland, the vas deferens, the seminal vesicle, and the cowpower gland. And these glands assist with moving the seminal fluid inside of the female and the sperm inside of the female.
Prostate gland, as she mentioned, lies just below the bladder and is shaped like a donut. The urethra passes through the center of the prostate before traversing the penis to end at the external urinary meatus. It secretes a thin milk-colored fluid that constitutes about 30% of the total seminal fluid volume. This amount of fluid helps in activating the sperm and maintain their motility. The prostatic fluid is rich in enzymes, proteins, and minerals that help protect and nourish the sperm.
So basically, the fluid gives the sperm energy, and it gives it just like a boost to make it to the egg, because it has a long journey to get to the fallopian tube.
Our next accessory gland is the supportive sex gland, seminal vesicle. Exocrine glands that join the vas deferens. They contribute about 60% of the seminal fluid volume. This fluid assists to provide a source of energy to the spermatozoa, who are spontaneously and independently traveling to get to their final destination.
Do we know what that fluid is made up of?
Fructose, and I think that's it.
Okay, fructose. What is fructose?
Sugar.
Sugar. This gland literally produces sugar to make these sperm have energy. Kind of cool, right? Makes them just extremely excitable. Just like if you gave kids a bunch of sugar.
Our
Jumping
next-
off the walls.
I'm
literally.
Our next and last accessory gland is another paired gland is and excuse me for my pronunciation, the bulbourethral glands. Resembles a pea in size and shape. They are located just below the prostate gland and empty their secretions into the penile portion of the urethra. However small in size, the gland secretion is often released just before most of the semen is ejaculated to perform the important task of cleaning the path for the mighty sperm. Neutralize any residue of sperm damaging acidic urine in the urethra. Lubricate urethra to reduce friction for the sperm and lubrication for intercourse.
Very good. Those glands are all very important glands. So make sure you understand those glands and what they do, right? So the sperm's traveling through, it hits the prostate, it hits the bulbourethral, it hits the seminal gland, the seminal vesicles, right? They all play a part. They're very important. Good. All right. Accessory glands. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. So we did the accessory organs, and the females are made up of 3 main structures, which starts with the ducts, which has the 2 uterine tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. The function of these is to, one, the uterine tubes is what the ova travel through. Then the uterus is where a fertilized egg would plant, and then it would grow from a zygote to an embryo to a fetus till full. I forgot what once the baby is mature, then the baby would exit through the vagina. So that's the main function of these of the ducts, is to take the ova and process them until they're at full maturity and they exit through the vagina. Then we have the additional sex glands, which is the 2 greater vestibular glands and the 2 lesser vestibular glands. The greater glands can also be called Bartholin glands, and the lesser glands can also be called Skene glands or the female prostate. These glands work to produce mucus fluid for lubricant. So that is the female version of the lubrication, is our vestibular glands work to create that mucus fluid for lubrication.
And then the external reproductive organs, also known as the genitals, are a group of collectively, it's called the vulva. Its purpose is for reproduction and urination. I don't know if we covered this, but the accessory organs in women, the uterine tubes are also known as the fallopian tubes. The uterus is where the fertilized egg implants and develops. And then the vagina, which is the internal tube for the uterus, the vulva. And then the sex glands, like you said, the lesser vestibular gland and the greater.
Okay. Good. You guys have anything you want to say? Sure. Go ahead. No, you guys have to go, so it goes in order.
Yeah, it's y'all turn, sorry.
Sorry, gathering my excitement.
And the uterine tubes, is there another word for uterine tubes? Fallopian tubes, and there's another word. Do we know? They're also called the oviducts. We have oviducts, fallopian tube, uterine tube. Those are interchangeable words. They all mean the fallopian tube. Just in case you were getting confused or you're like, I need to know more tubes, those are the 3 same. Why? I don't know.
So in regards to the vagina, at times sadly for the vagina, it is exposed to the external environment and more susceptible for infections, like yeast due to wearing a bathing suit for too long or overuse of antibiotics. So, and in the vagina, which is a very acidic environment, the semen is strong enough to carry alkaline to fight it off. In regards to the greater and lesser vestibular glands, the female may contribute to lubrication during sexual orientation, but unlike most of the male accessory glands, which serve more than one mighty purpose. Huh?
No, you guys get to go up after she's done.
Oh, okay.
No, she asked for
Well,
it.
just let her talk. Don't let her add more stuff that she needs.
Okay, and adding to, in regards to the lesser vestibular glands specifically, which is also the prostate gland in female, they are susceptible to infection. Example, bacteria that cause gonorrhea are often hard to eliminate once they infect.
Very good. My goodness.
Very good.
She makes good points. I like all those points. The glands of the male are winning right now.
Counsel.
You can go up with her too.
Sidebar. Yeah, support.
I gotta turn, I gotta 4 slides.
Okay, so rebuttaling to that, yes, the female reproductive system is exposed, but we have lactobacilli, which produces acidic pH and bacteriocins to kill bacteria in the vagina. It's designed to protect women from sexually transmitted pathogens and infections.
Okay.
And men do not have pH protection. And we do have these infections, but we do have many common ways to treat them with antibiotics that are very effective.
Very good. Good rebuttal. Oh.
The glands, pituitary gland and the hypothalamus gland in a male are affected by many things such as tumors, HIV, drug medication. For our bodybuilders that use steroids, their glands are very affected. And as far as the scrotum, it is exposed as well. For direct injury, your testes get affected.
Okay. You expected that?
Yeah, we did.
Expected that. Good. That was good. I like that. All right. So now that that part is over, we understand the glands and what they do, right?
Right.
So in women, they're mostly just for lubrication, for protection, so that we don't get harmed during intercourse. It doesn't hurt, right? So it's pleasurable. It's also for an acid to keep the vagina kind of acidic, so that bacteria can't grow, so that we can actually stay, as best we can without getting infection. And in the man, we have all these other glands that have these wonderful functions. I do want to point out a couple of things about some of these glands. When you guys are looking at this prostate gland right here, you see how it's sitting aside the urethra. Right here's your urethra that goes out of the body to pee and to ejaculate. It sits right on top of it. So if that enlarges, what do you think you would see in a man? If the prostate is enlarged.
It's constriction against the urethra.
Yeah.
And it causes, pain and it's difficulty with your.
Yeah, it's hard for them to pee.
Yeah.
There's something clogging it, right? So when you're looking at structure, start to think about function, right? That gland's awesome. It does a lot of really great things, but oftentimes in men, as they age, it enlarges. And I'm not doing this against you're not getting it. They're getting points. They're not getting it, but it enlarges and it causes this urinary infrequency and just kind of pain and dribbling and all these other kinds of problems. So just so you're aware. But I think we're going to talk about that probably in diseases as well. But I did want you guys to kind of see when you're looking at the glands where they're located, because it is important to kind of know. And I described it as kind of like a car wash, right? The sperm's coming in, it gets some prostate juice, it gets some juice from the vulvourethra, and it just kind of keeps getting all this stuff until it can actually leave nice and clean and ready to go. So, very good though. And it's very functional, right? It gets sugar for energy, it gets pH so it can fill out all your acid in women, right? It has all these really great, all these glands do things exactly how they're supposed to do them. So very interesting. All right, it's gonna be male again for hormones. Hormones. Who's up for male?
Oh, I mean,
No, that's on
I
there.
like it.
Yeah, this is fun. Oh wait,
Skip it, go to the next one. We had put in the wrong word by accident. Right? No, the hormones were down there.
there we go. Okay.
Can you push play?
Huh?
The audio. It has the audio.
Oh, is this Sharice's part?
Yeah.
Okay.
The male reproductive system originates, like most systems in our body, in the brain. The hypothalamus secretes a hormone called gonadotropin-releasing hormone, or GnRH. This hormone triggers the release of two other hormones from the anterior pituitary gland. These are the follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, and the luteinizing hormone, LH. Both of these hormones are called gonadotropins. These both stimulate the production of hormones in the gonads, the testes in men and ovaries in women. In boys, FSH facilitates the cell division of spermatogonia that produces sperm. The luteinizing hormone is responsible for the production of testosterone. Before I move on to testosterone, I want to touch on the differences between men and women regarding the FSH and LH hormones. For context, FSH and LH are responsible for the generation of estrogen and progesterone in females, and both are important to the menstrual cycle. But research has shown that women's FSH and LH hormones significantly decrease by age 50, while men stay relatively stable until their 70s and have even been shown to increase from ages 70 up until 85. In men, FSH and LH have more positive benefits such as helping muscle mass percentage, gait speed, grip strength, and a reduction of body fat, while for women, FSH and LH are associated with increases in body fat.
So to just.
I mean, she's not even here, and that was pretty good, right?
Her voice was good.
It was. She sounded so good. I was like, oh, she's. That was great. Yeah.
It sounded like they saved it off of Google.
Go into depth about the FSH hormone. When it affects the spermatogonia, and then basically go into cell division, one of the cells stay back and creates more cells for cell division, and then one of the cells differentiates and then actually turns into the sperm cell. But to summarize all of that, you know, men can make sperm basically from puberty to the rest of their life, and it's sperm that works, like she said, or like we said, after menopause, you know, most of your eggs are gone, so you can't really create life anymore. Men can continue to create life from puberty up until age 70, 80.
There you go. All right.
It's just the order of our power.
Breathe. Why do you keep doing this? Your PowerPoint is goofy.
Like the process of it, and then she's gonna go into debt, and then I have one little sentence, and then she's gonna finish it all.
Hold on, your thing is.
Do I still need to say this just because she just said this?
Yeah, we can't repeat ourselves because there's things that are repeating. Yeah.
All right, female hormones. All right.
So, both males and females release this secretion, which is called gonadotropin releasing hormone, and that is stimulating the pituitary gland, and it secretes gonadotropins, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, and the luteinizing hormone. So these affects the gonads, the testes, and ovaries, and we're gonna talk about the ovaries because, of course, that produces the estrogen and progesterone in the ovaries and starts at puberty.
It's responsible for our sexual development, and it prepares our uterine wall to nourish a fertilized egg. It also produces our secondary sex characteristics. It repairs the wall of our uterine wall, and it controls our ovulation and menstrual cycles. Estrogen is the sex hormone that maintains the development of our traits and stimulates growth that line the uterus. And we want to talk about our progesterone, which supports menstruation and prepares the uterus for pregnancy, which thickens the lining of the uterus for implantation. Not only does the progesterone do that, it also supports pregnancy once conception occurs. So without progesterone, if a woman has low progesterone, she may have preterm labor or miscarriage. So it helps us continue our growth of life. It improves our mood. It is known as the calming effect hormone. It inducts our sleep. It supports our thyroid function, and going back into the birth, it supports our lactation, which gives nutrients to our baby. A lot of people get prescriptions for progesterone, like birth control, so we have supplements that can help us counteract the effects of these things.
But yes, we do have many changes, but we flourish. So, get all these hips and stuff.
Sure. All right. Good. Do we have a rebuttal to come up? All right, we have our rebuttal coming.
Okay, so again, proving the fact that men are superior when it comes to the reproductive system. The estrogen and progesterone levels in women, they're great and they do all of those really cool things, but unfortunately, they do cause a lot of pain and certain issues to their host. So for the women, monthly, from the time they're pretty much in puberty on until they're about 50 or so several decades, they may be going through intense pain on a monthly basis with cramping, bloating, and massive mood changes depending on the woman. It is very unpredictable. There's no kind of steadiness when it comes to that, and it varies from woman to woman. So, and whereas men do not have to face those issues.
And let's talk about birth control. Although it can, help to balance out hormones, it can also make your hormones, unbalanced. It can cause your hair to fall out. It can cause you to gain weight. It can cause you to be bloated. It can cause your breasts to swell, which is also things that are uncomfortable to the host. So while you guys do have hormones to help flourish life, the hormones are actually
Or detrimental at times, or at least feels that way to the actual host themselves.
All right, all right.
Remember, this is her favorite. This is her favorite.
I love this day.
So you guys mentioned that testosterone levels do drop in a man. The effects of low testosterone in a man have very many effects. You have low muscle mass, reduced sperm count. You can actually get increased breast size in a man. Loss of body hair, and your bones become brittle, which increase your risk of fracture.
So testosterone fuels the disease of prostate cancer, which is pretty sad. When a man experiences the prostate cancer, they take Viagra or other medications that can affect your cardiac. So, heart attacks, other issues. But we do experience these pains, but we're willing to deal with them. We're not gonna cry about it.
All right. So that was great. Hormones are great, right? So you had a lot of it, right? I want you guys to notice how these are. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. What is the word in there? Gonad. It goes to the gonads. Easy enough to remember that, right? And then when you have follicle stimulating hormone, what do you think that does?
For the eggs, for the ovum.
It stimulates a follicle, right? So the follicle being the eggs, the ovum, and the sperm, right? So these are the ones that you need in order to go have puberty, right? And then you start getting your facial hair, you start getting breasts if you're a woman. It starts to give us all of our sexual development and all of our secondary sexual characteristics, right? That's what those hormones are doing. And we all, men and women, have those because we go through puberty. And, you know, I want you guys, when you're thinking about hormones and that, think about every single month, a woman's body is preparing for one thing only, to have a baby. And so if you don't have a baby, then it just kind of is like, all right, fine, we'll start over again next month, right? But that's all that's happening with those hormones. So if you have low levels of hormones, obviously you're not going to be as fertile, possibly, right? And the reason we take progesterone as birth control, does anybody know why we take that hormone for, and we take estrogen too sometimes, do you know why?
To reduce
the menstrual cycle?
Okay, but how does it reduce the menstrual cycle? Do we know?
Were you? Does it like promote the shedding of the lining within the uterus? Thank you.
Okay, good.
It
It's a
reduces
good.
the hormones that, it reduces the hormones.
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say?
It makes it thinner so the egg
Can attach,
Oh,
or reduces the hormones needed for reproduction.
It actually tricks the body into thinking it's pregnant.
Oh.
So the entire time you're
so you
taking
get bloated.
progesterone, your body's like, oh, I got high levels of progesterone. I'm pregnant.
It
That's why we have lighter periods. That's why sometimes we don't get a period at all, right? But we definitely don't ovulate. We're not putting those eggs out to get fertilized because our body is tricked into thinking that it's pregnant. As long as you have those high levels of estrogen and progesterone, your body thinks it's already pregnant. And that's all the body wants, right? Is to be pregnant. And so if you're tricking your body all day long, it doesn't have to go through that process every month. That's why we get less cramps, we have less bloating, and it's kind of why our boobs hurt a little, and right, and we have kind of all that stuff. It's the same thing with it really does trick your body into believing it's just it's pregnant, and it just levels you out. It's just enough. It's not like it's overdoing it, but it does just kind of level you out so that you won't get pregnant. Interesting, right? But now that you know the hormones and you know what happens when you get pregnant, you can see why if you gave your body that, your body's like, oh, I'm pregnant.
So it's not, maybe it's not a rebuttal, but it's just for information. Women also go through, during their period cycle, or actually prior, them going into the cycle, they can suffer, some women suffer from the premenstrual premenstrual syndrome disorder.
Save it for
your
diseases.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's a good one. Save it for diseases. It's okay. It's all right. We're gonna hear it. All right. How the system works in the process of reproduction. That's you guys? Yeah. You guys are nervous.
I'm fine.
You're fine. Just fine. All right. Come on, female. What are we at? We are at number 4.
Oh my gosh, for real?
Female. All right. Let's see if I can pull it up now.
I'm very nervous.
Why?
You're like the right stuff.
You got a whole team standing behind you that is pretty well versed in this. It's good to be in a team. I don't know why it keeps blacking out on yours.
Because it's done for. And
you know, like females are easier to like relate. We got our team with us, girl. They can tell us all they want. You know, she ain't gonna let that happen. That's funny.
Yeah, stop. I'm already nervous.
Oh,
no, you got it.
Don't arm me, cause that make people cry.
We'll let you get real nervous while we wait for it to load.
Why did this happen?
I don't know.
It's okay, I'll come up when you get it.
There we
It's
go.
a process of learning for all of us, so it's, you know, that's what I say.
All right. So, female reproductive
Wow.
system. Let's see, how does it work?
So in a whole, the female reproductive system, it produces ova, receive mature sperm, and it starts fertilization. It starts the fertilization process. So that's just sperm inside of a woman, and as long as the sperm meets with the ova, that's how fertilization begins. But TT will go more in depth.
So the fallopian tubes are attached to the ovaries, and that carries the egg and releases from the ovaries to the uterus, following the ovum. Ova. Yeah, that. And so, pretty much the fertilization happens in the fallopian tubes. So it's coming from the male sperm. Male sperm goes down, goes into the vagina in the uterus, where the eggs are coming through the fallopian tubes in the uterus meeting, and that's where everything starts to take place. Sperm's in the uterus, and then meiosis results, which 23, if you ever heard of it. And then the sperm turns into the zygote, which is the offspring, a living thing, turns into a living thing. And then,
just to say something else is also going on, ovulation.
Ovulation. What about it?
Oh, that is when we are ovulation is when the eggs is coming from the ovaries and travels through the fallopian tube to meet its sperm.
Ovulation pretty much tells our body when we're ready to have that baby.
21.
Like now it's time, after your menstrual cycle, you get that time period where you're most fertile, and that's ovulation.
So it's the time when you're most susceptible, I think that's how you say it, to get pregnant. It lasts about 3 to 5 days.
Okay, good. All right, male. Where's yours at?
I think it's, where's there? Which one is yours? Lindsay?
Oh, they're the last two.
Oh, last two.
This is so nerve-wracking.
Okay, so, the process of reproduction for the male, it starts with the I might not know some of these words, but.
Seminiferous.
Okay, tubules.
Seminiferous.
And then, it goes to the epididymis, and then it goes to the vas difference, right? And then it goes to the, thank you, and then it goes to the urethra, and then, it goes to the penis.
You do need to know how sperm travels through the reproductive system. This exact slide right here. Seminiferous tubules to the epididymis, vas deferens, ejaculatory duct, urethra, penis. Yes,
Are you gonna put these on?
I am.
Okay, good.
Yep, absolutely.
And then, Lindsay's gonna go into depth about each one.
Okay.
Okay, so I know earlier Ms. G said that the process is kind of like a car wash, because the men's sperm just gets stronger and stronger as we go on, and does all these different things while the egg just kind of sits there. So the seminiferous tubules, they contain cells that produce the sperm, and then they go in through the epididymis, which is a tightly coiled tube, and that's where the sperm matures and gains the ability to like swim and move throughout the body. And that's also where it removes extra testicular fluid, which is concentrating the sperm cells. After that, it goes through the vas deferens, which is a thick, smooth, muscular tube that allows the sperm to exit through the ejaculatory duct. I keep going like this. I gotta stop. And then it's the ejaculatory duct and the urethra. urethra, which is where it passes through the prostate and empties the sperm into the urethra. And while it goes through the prostate, it secretes a thin, milky colored fluid that allows the sperm, or it activates the sperm, and then it helps it maintain mobility so it can swim through penetrate the sperm. And then it goes through the
Bulbourethral.
Yep, those glands,
Bulbourethral.
which is right below the prostate, and that is where they're secreted, and then it allows it's like the pre-ejaculation, so it comes out before, and then it helps neutralize any residue of like acidic urine, and then it adds extra lubricant and protects this. There we go again. It protects the sperm from friction. Okay, and then the next slide.
I mean, we couldn't even know that the men's reproductive system is this cool, right?
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's so cool. I mean, it's just like so amazing, the science. But I know it's a for a fun debate, but like, come on, this is pretty cool. Like, you didn't know this, right? You didn't know that it like gets sugar and then it gets, just like the pre-ejaculation, you think about it, you've heard it, right? But you don't realize that it's actually cleaning out all of the urine before, so that these sperm can live and they're not going to give any bacteria to the women.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. I mean,
you wish you had that, but you don't.
what an amazing
Right.
thing.
They think you're signing with it.
I'm not signing with them. I
Sound like it.
She just like being good.
I just think that nobody is as enthusiastic as I would be if I was talking about how cool that was. Because I just feel like that is so cool. Because nobody knew that.
That's great.
Let's hear about their mighty sperms.
All right. Let's hear about. Oh, this is gonna do it too for you. I don't know what to tell you. Let's hear.
Okay,
Great.
So this is a really great image. It's our sperm. So the pink is the egg. It's so funny. The pink is the egg, and then the sperm is the sperm. So the first part is the head, and that has the nucleus in it, which is holding genetic material from the dad. And the head is covered with acrosome, which is a cap made of enzymes that makes the sperm capable of penetrating the egg and going into the egg. And then there's the mid piece, which contains the mitochondria, which releases the energy that lets the sperm propel and swim through for a long time. I keep doing a hand thing.
It's okay.
And then the last thing is the tail, which allows it to swim.
And then I know there are just that
Beautiful.
the men produce significant numbers of sperm as women only have so many eggs.
Yeah.
Like through their
And we produce, us men, we produce them all throughout our life. Like, we don't stop producing
like women.
sperm.
Right? Wonderful. You need to also know this entire slide. You need to know the head, the mid piece, and the tail, and what they're composed of. So that acrosome, you do need to know that is designed just as an enzyme to break an eggshell. That's all it does. It's so amazing that it's right on that head, right? And then you have to know that mid piece is holding that mitochondria. That's all the energy of the cell, right? And then you have the tail. So make sure you're familiar with these parts of the sperm cell. Good job. I know none of you thought this was going to be as interesting as it is now.
No comment, no rebuttal.
Rebuttal, comments?
No, we don't have to rebuttal.
Here they come. All right, rebuttal. I love it.
One of the things I just want to go ahead and mention that makes women superior is that if the fallopian tube if one of our fallopian tubes are removed, the other two will move around between each ovary each month, so the eggs from each ovary each month can be transported into the uterus. So that definitely makes us superior.
Woo! Beautiful. We have two too.
Wow, we like to think that sperm is also mighty.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that sperm, it can't reproduce on its own. So it's not about us needing a man or a man needing a woman. It's more about who's superior. And so with that being said, if a sperm cell doesn't have an egg to do what it needs to do, it's useless. Not as mighty as you say it is. Just to give an example, a sperm cell is basically just a small,
unusual cell.
Thank you. It's like a watermelon seed.
Oh, you going?
Unless it's fertilized. Or
But what did you?
And one more thing to add, you guys say it's mighty because you guys are really riding on that. You guys, a man produce so many sperm cells when it ejaculates. How many goes into the egg? Not all of those might spell. Not all of them.
Because we gonna go.
And also, just to piggyback off of that, the men do have, the sperm does have a long way to travel before it gets to the egg. So a lot of that don't just meet the egg. Some of them just, they aren't fast enough or mighty enough to reach the egg.
Not mighty. So, you can have twins, but most likely it's just like one baby. So it's about one sperm per.
Usually it's just people having one baby.
And I only say that because you guys compared so many sperm to our one egg, but that's, all those other sperm really don't matter in a mighty sense.
All right. Oh, Adrian, fighting at the bit.
You guys have to say.
Very good.
That was nice.
That was good.
I just have a general question for the class, even to my male reproductive system counterparts. Is an egg actually beneficial, or can it do anything without a sperm?
No.
I just want to know, does it really?
But
you don't have to
sperm
answer.
do anything without an egg?
My point is, you can't say that women are superior because sperm can't do anything without an egg, when truthfully it's an even playing field, because we can't say, and we didn't say, that men were superior because, the egg can't do anything without the sperm. So that's just one thing. Also too, when the reason we have so many sperm and whatnot that's actually traveling to the reproductive system, one might argue the fact that if you have a defective or an inconsistent or something is wrong with that egg, you only have one. Whereas with the males, it's survival of the fittest. So you have all of the ones with they have DNA, they have certain levels of strength or whatever. No, some don't make it. Many don't make it, actually, because like you pointed out, only one does. But you can actually say that for that one that does make it, it is top tier. So it's not the fact of saying maybe the male reproductive system isn't superior because they just have so many and all of them are just not that great, but yet they do have that one that is. And it is strong enough to actually penetrate, and it is the one that has enough energy and knew the direction to go into, whereas like Lindsay pointed out, the egg just kind of sits there, and you even alluded, TT, I believe it was, to the fact that, the egg, or maybe it was you, I don't know, the egg is right there sitting in the fallopian tube, which is great. Sperm have to travel so far, which is what makes them superior. They have to work for what they deserve and for what they got. And so they not only don't have eyes to see, so they are going based off of whatever they're feeling for. They go with little sense of direction at all. So they have to be strong enough in order to be able to get to fertilize that egg, and they have to get there at the right timing. Because if it's a little bit too early or if it's a little bit too late, then you have nothing. So we are superior. Thank you.
All right. I told you guys. No, and I told you she was coming for you. I gave you fair warning.
She had second, I would have killed
That was wonderful. Me too. That's all right. You guys got more chances to come up, so maybe it'll hit on another area. We'll have closing statements. You're taking notes for your closing statement. All right, so now we are on diseases and disorders. This is going to be fun.
Oh wait.
It's female. No, you can do it later. Yes, you guys did awesome too. That was good. I know you were worried.
But I didn't really know.
That's all right. You guys were good. I know you were like, it was.
Why she had to go up? Why the people that we went against couldn't go up?
Told you could tag in whoever you want to tag in. These are both going really, really well, I'm gonna say. What are we on now? Diseases and disorders. All right.
Number 6.
My team got
One more back.
Oh, one more back. Okay. Let me see if it even comes on. I don't know why it keeps going black when I hit on it. You guys should have said something about them having like needing 100 million sperm each time because that's how inadequate they are.
Oh,
You should have. You didn't, but you.
No, but I didn't say they sent all of those in there and only one make it. What's the difference?
I know, but I mean, it's like, it's the wording. If you say like it's inadequate, it's like if you were adequate, you'd only need one. Like
But she said, oh, if an egg is defective, then that means your sperm don't matter.
Right?
It's
all off the record. It's all off the record.
It is. But right now, until we have
I'm here for cooling.
I didn't know we were in.
I wish she would have went first, man. It's such a disadvantage.
Well, it's kind of hard to follow up after that, but.
All right, let's get into diseases and disorders.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the female diseases and disorders. The first and most common one that most people are familiar with is endometriosis. That's basically where the uterine lining that typically lines the inside of the uterus starts to grow in other areas where it's not normally present, like the ovaries, behind the uterus, on the bowels, or on the bladder. And so this misplaced tissue can cause really heavy periods, pain, infertility, and that's actually a pretty common issue. The other one that we also have a tendency to get a lot is uterine fibroids, and they're basically non-cancerous tumors, very common in women of childbearing age. The cause is unknown, but there are certain risk factors. It's not proportionate to all women. So if you are overweight, are African American, or just unhealthy in general, you can have more of a risk factor for developing those. And basically, fibroids are composed of muscle cells and other tissue that grow around the wall of the uterus. Similar symptoms as endometriosis, urinating often, painful sex, lower back pain. And the gynecological cancer is basically any type of cancer that starts in a woman's reproductive organs. The 5 main ones are cervical, ovarian, uterine, vaginal, and vulvar. As far as the diseases go, she's going to talk about that, but there is one that we want to point out specifically that is more common among men as opposed to women. She's going to talk about that.
So the HIV is a woman who typically would get infected by having sex with a man who carry the virus or sharing needles with an infected person. A woman or minority races are most affected. We have the PCOS, there's a polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a fluid filled with sag, the belly and the ovaries. Most obese women will have more risk to have this kind of disease, the PCOS. And their increase of diabetes, heart disease, they're characterized by infertility, they have pain on the pelvic area, excessive hair growth, and face. They also, that's it.
Okay. Good. All right.
Yeah, she's gonna, up some more, right?
Start at 4.
I'll start at 4.
This G, because when you click the next, it'll
Yeah.
do different.
You can just push like
I got you.
Yeah, history.
They want to show you, show them.
Sure.
PowerPoint is really cool. You put a lot of stuff on the PowerPoint.
Yeah. It's so nice. It's easy to do too, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not really familiar with it. With Lindsay was really good. Adrian, PowerPoint, she knows how to do it.
Yeah. All right. Diseases and disorders.
So, I'm gonna first talk about testicular cancer, and that's the growth of cancer cells that start in the testicles. It causes males to have a The treatment consists of surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, but it is treated successfully in more than 95% of cases, whereas with women, ovarian cancer, about 78% of women with it live for at least 1 year after diagnosis, and about 46% are alive 5 years after diagnosis. So that's a downfall to y'all. With male infertility, that's when a sexually mature male is unable to get a fertile female pregnant. There are many possible causes for this, such as genetics, trauma, diseases, or infections. The treatments consist of surgery, treating infections, hormone treatments or medications, and ART, which is assisted reproductive technology. But 90% of infertile men have the potential to conceive their own child, whereas women, only about 85 to 90% are able to conceive their own child, and then the treatments are about the same.
Okay, now moving on to erectile dysfunction. So that is when a man is unable to maintain an adequate erection. This is generally caused by certain physical conditions. It could be due to whatever illness he already had, such as like heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, depression, and anxiety. Like women, and I'll touch on that in a moment, medication that's usually needed a lot of times is self-care, like stopping smoking or, actually encourage exercising. And although it is common in men and it is easily treated, as opposed to women, they may require other things such as injections, certain lubricants when it comes to sexual dysfunction. Now, for women, they tend to have a lot of genital pain, and that is known as dyspareunia. And that is and that can happen not only during intercourse, but that can happen before and after. And then also too, there is vulvodynia, which is direct chronic pain to the vulva. And that is discomfort around that opening of the vagina. And so men generally, like I said, they do have there are easier treatments. It really just takes a quick trip to the gas station to go get, one of those little pills, but to help with ED, at least temporarily. But women have a lot more pain and discomfort, and lack of lubrication increase of lubrication could potentially help, but that is not really guaranteed.
And for STDs, I'll put gonorrhea as an example. This STD affects the majority of women. It's about 88% of women, while it affects 68% of men. This is the case for a majority of STDs because the vagina it's thin and it's really moist and it's really warm. It makes them more susceptible for getting infections and bacteria and diseases and things like that. Another downfall is a lot of women don't notice their symptoms until it progresses and it gets really severe. And when it does, it can spread into the uterus, it can spread into the fallopian tubes, it can cause you to have an ectopic pregnancy, you can have infertility, and also if you have this disease while you give birth, you're passing it directly into your newborn, which cause death. Yeah.
And a fun fact, women are more prone to infections due to environmental factors such as poor hygiene, medications, etc. It is harder to eliminate infections in women than it is in the men.
Ooh. Settle? Nice slides, by the way. I like your transition. Very fun.
We just wanted to mention that, in general, we know we talked about this before, but we want to elaborate on a little bit. The lactobacillus
basically designed to protect women from sexually transmitted diseases and other pathogens. And that's just a unique quality that women have. Self-cleaning, yeah.
Men will suffer this disease, hypogonadism. It's the gonads fail to function properly, leading to reduce of sex hormones. If this happens at the fetal development, the body doesn't produce enough testosterone during the fetal development, may impair growth of external sex organs. A child who is genitally male may be born with female genitals. Or it could be either or. It could be not clearly male or female.
Yeah, that's something, sorry. We didn't really know this until we researched this back. It's called hypogonadism, so low gonads, basically. And yeah, it is a real thing. If you're born with low testosterone, sometimes your parts will not fully develop at birth.
Correct. At puberty, they may develop some breast tissues. Well, as an adult, it may infertility, or decreased muscle mass, or loss of mass, bone mass, or erectile dysfunction as well.
Great. Oh wait, Sophia, one more.
Alright, so very important one to think about is the erectile dysfunction. Now there's levels to that, and a lot of cases can be treated with a trip to the gas station. There are cases where it does not matter what you take, how many doctors you go to, your penis won't get erect. And unlike women, they cannot be stimulated on the without the penis, unless it's through the anus, which many are not willing to do. So women can be stimulated through their clitoris. Meanwhile, with an erectile dysfunction that can't be treated, most of the time they have no way to interact in intercourse, period.
Okay. Good rebuttal. Yep. Wait, one more thing.
One more thing. The biggest autoimmune disease that most people are familiar with, HIV, AIDS. We did the research on that because someone in our group actually asked us this question, if it can be transmitted from woman to woman. It is extremely rare, It's mostly man-to-man sexual intercourse or sharing needles with an affected person. There is only 6 documented cases of woman-to-woman.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Contact being transmitted.
So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, them is our people. They know what they're doing. We as a whole group here.
Oh, there was a lot that was said. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember.
You wrote something up though?
Oh my God. Yes. So one thing to kind of go against what you said. Yes, the increase. I think it was they said decrease in testosterone causes ED or whatever. Yes, that's fine. That's fine. There are cases. Obviously, there are scenarios where maybe somebody can't get an erection. However, when there's a shift in hormone levels within women, whether with progesterone or estrogen, for example, with POS, one of the actual diseases that you all mentioned, when that's too low, and it doesn't take too much, but when that's too low, you start to have those crazy symptoms that she was mentioning in your presentation, which was the facial hair, the pain, everything else that you said in your own presentation. And then also too, it was what was the other thing I wanted to address? The something Yashika said, not Yashika, but Angela said, the what?
Not ain't she.
She got it. That's okay. That's okay. I'll leave it, but
another thing was, you guys said the girl part cleans herself. Yes, that is true.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
But that's hygiene come into place, because although it cleans itself, if you're not cleaning it the proper way, it can get infected, and that's where UTIs and stuff like that come into place.
Also, to piggyback off of that, you call it a self-cleaning machine. And although it does do that, the number and the rates of those cases where someone is getting a yeast infection or bacterial vaginosis simply from using the wrong soap and shampoo, the host is suffering with itchiness, burning, and whatnot during that time. So one, it's not quick enough to handle those things on their own. And then also two, men don't generally have most of those issues. The other thing I wanted to touch on was when Sophia was mentioning that when on those cases where men cannot have an erection, then they have no other way to be sexually pleased, the prostate gland is actually more stimulating, at least up to some people. It's actually more stimulating than it is through the actual penis itself. And it doesn't have to be accessed by going internally. It can be accessed with the, what do they call it? What's that? That's not like perineum for women, but I guess it might be the same thing, or the gooch as they call it. But I'm sorry for my lack of vocabulary, but it is still accessible to please them. And there are many erogenous zones, not just through the penis. So it does not exclude them, those few cases that are unable to have any kind of medical intervention. So it doesn't disqualify them. Whereas with women, they are genuinely in pain. And so that not only affects them physically, but then mentally, it causes them to be a little bit more hesitant, because as a fight or flight, as we all have, we don't want to go into somewhere where we know we're gonna be in pain or discomfort.
UTIs does
Bless you.
cause.
That was part of
Like she was firing off it.
The UTI does causes altered mental status. I know if you notice our healthcare workers, when your residents get a UTI, that's why they go to acting like a whole different person. Yeah, I said some of us are healthcare workers, but that's why when they get UTIs, they act completely different than how they normally act. It's affecting their bodies.
And the body can't just clean it out, you know, and it causes way more, like you said, symptoms other than just down there.
So, so who is more likely to get a UTI and why? What's the rationale? Raise your hand if you know. Wendy.
We're gonna get into that.
Okay, then I'll leave it. All right, what are we getting into then? We're getting into external, external genital structures. Good.
This is right on time. You have to go to your
I got 15 minutes, yeah. We'll do, we're getting there, yeah. All right, male.
Just don't look at anyone.
I feel just. That was my biggest thing in school. Miss G brings it out of all of us.
What?
Mine, like I've never been the person to talk in front of the class.
Oh, well, you have to, yeah. In mine, you have to.
Okay, we have the external genitals, which consists of the penis that has 3 columns of erectile tissue in the shaft. I don't know how to see it. The lorpus sponges is 1, and then 2 the corpora cavernosa. Yeah, and at the end of the shaft you have the gland penis, also known as glands, and the foreskin and the scrotum. So just to get into more detail, the scrotum basically is a skin covered pouch suspended from the groin. It's divided into 2 compartments by a septum. Each compartment contains a testes and epididymis, the lower part of the vas deferens, and the beginning of the spermatic cord. So before we get into this, I just want to preface this by stating that the male external organs are greatly underrated and underappreciated due to a lack of awareness. We will start off by addressing the disparity of urethral lengths. Slide. So this is just a comparison of the male and female external genitals, and as you
extra like skin, which would be the equivalent of the labia majora in women, and both men and women have the mons pubis, which is a fatty padding located on top of the pubis symphysis. So going back to the length of the urethra in men actually helps prevent UTIs, which are often caused by bacteria reaching the bladder and the kidneys. Although it's not rare, the occurrence of urinary tract infections in men is far less common than it is in women, as women's urethral length, which is about 1.5 inches, is much shorter than men's, which is 7 to 8 inches.
Okay, furthermore, due to the proximity of women's urethral openings in relation to the vagina, the likelihood of developing a UTI from sexual activity is increased. Similarly to women, can also get UTIs from getting
fecal bacteria in the urethra. This brings us to our second point, which is the susceptibility of women to acquire sexually transmitted diseases, also known as sexually transmitted illnesses, also known as STIs, due to the nature of the vaginal wall, which is made of smooth muscle, and a mucous membrane, which is the perfect environment for the cultivation of bacterial vaginosis, as well as candidiasis, aka a yeast infection.
Okay, like previously mentioned, VB can sometimes be caused by fecal bacteria, can also be a result of whatever, so frequently changing vaginal flora, if not a wonky pH level. It's an opportunity. What does it say?
If it's not a wonky pH level, it's an opportunistic pathogen ready to take over the microbiome.
Yeah. Okay. Although the vagina is notorious for being self-claiming, it's no match for the unrelenting sexual transmitted disease it can come across. The vaginal mucosa surface makes it more vulnerable to secretion that contains viruses such as HIV, HPV, and chlamydia. The structures of the penis, on the other hand, makes it less vulnerable to STIs. When males are born in the United States, their parents often electively have foreskin of the penis removal through the procedure called circumcision. The removal of
You're doing good. You're doing great. You're doing great.
It's too much for me. I can't do it.
You're doing good, lady.
Okay. Let me see. I can't.
It's just one more section.
Oh, baby.
You're good.
Yes, you can.
You got this.
Yeah.
Not really. I can't. You're literally almost done.
Should I read it?
Go ahead. Help
Okay.
her out.
The removal of the foreskin is believed to reduce the spread of AIDS later in life. Snipping the foreskin also reduces bacterial growth and the chances of getting a UTI in the future. Lastly, because the gonads of men are located externally, it makes it much easier to detect abnormalities such as testicular cancer. On the contrary, women's gonads are located internally, making it challenging to diagnose early. Early onset ovarian cancer is typically asymptomatic, whereas a man can easily perform a testicular self-exam at their leisure and catch a malignant tumor before it's too late. Men also have the ability to urinate standing up, which is great because who likes to squat or sit on dirty toilets and behind trees?
Might come up against this. Check on her if you want.
Sit behind trees.
Okay, fun fact. The testicles are so awesome that they are held by this nifty pocket-like sack of skin called the scrotum, which can thermoregulate the testicles by either shrinking when it's too cold or relaxing when it's too hot, causing them to hang lower and away from the body. This mechanism keeps the testicles at 1 to 3 degrees Celsius cooler than the rest of the body, promoting production and survival of sperm.
So cool. So cool. I bet you guys didn't know why that structure was low, right?
I did read that it keeps the temperature at 1 degree.
Isn't it amazing? You didn't know that though until you read it, right?
Right.
I mean, how did we know?
A lot of this is like, it's
Whew,
in depth.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. I just thought it was like, okay,
Baby coming out.
I can't see with glasses, so.
Not with the glasses.
With the glasses, can't see.
No, I can't get
All right, so, my name is Blue. Okay. Hey, Blue. Clarity, hi. This is the structure and function of the internal genitals for the ladies, you know, the superior, you know, us, you know. Okay, so, let me not say, okay, so the vulva is, basically the vagina. And, on top of the vagina is the pubis, is the skin covered pad, and it grows the hair as well. It protects it, and provides cushion during sexual intercourse. And then you have the clitoris, is the erectile tissue located at the interior corner of the visible.
I have a fun fact for you guys. You said something about the clitoris, and actually for females, the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings. However, the men's glands only has 4,000 nerve endings. So when we do experience the clitoral pleasure, it is a lot stronger for us women.
And then both share the internal urinary meatus, is an opening or urinary tract. And then the labia minor is the small lips, and then the labia major is the larger lips. Inside the labia minor, you have the visible. Yeah, the visible. And then the vulva protects the female's internal parts of the reproductive system, and through the female internal genitals are more complex than males. Each part plays a vital role in protecting our bodies so that we can do amazing things.
Alright, and so to cover about the breast, everybody, men and women, have breasts. And we are actually all born with nipples because the sex has not been determined yet until about the 6th or 7th week after gestation. So that's just a little fun fact for you guys, why everybody has nipples. So the breasts are essentially very important in females because that is how you feed your infant until around 6 months. Your baby cannot get nutrients after birth without your breasts. They do make formula, but however, this is a way to emotionally connect with your baby and to allow the antibodies to flow through to that baby. So the breasts consist of the areola, which is a covered surface around the nipple. So it's the smooth muscle that contracts when your nipple gets erect. And then you have the areola glands, which actually, after birth, when you're breastfeeding, they secrete an oil. That way you don't experience like nipple cracking as much and like the pain. So it helps lubricate the outside slightly of the nipple. And then you have the nipple pores, which is the opening of the nipple duct that leads to the milk chambers in the breast where the body stores your breast milk. So it is pretty much an external exit.
Do we know what the ducts are called? Lactiferous ducts. Lact, like lacto, right? Like milk. Lactiferous ducts.
And some positives about the female breasts, mainly they are bigger than males, I would hope, and they can provide a layer of protection for your upper organs. So that way it protects your heart and part of your lungs. And so also breasts play a large role in men's sexual attraction towards us. As of men, they only have really one part that women are interested in for the main part. As in females, you can't see, and men are attracted to the breasts.
And then also, because of the male's reproductive genitals being outside of the body, men be more uncomfortable throughout the day. You got that hanging, that slag. And then also, male only have one exit point for the urine and the specimen, and they don't wipe, and it's very unsanitary. We got all these tools to help us clean ourselves. So without proper hygiene, men can give women many infections, like vaginosis and STIs, due to buildup of stigma on the glands of the penis.
So smegma is like for example, it's like cheesy-like, it's really gross, and it is a natural lubricant, but without the proper hygiene, it can cause serious infections for women, including vaginosis or STIs. And having foreskin, like if you are not circumcised, it can increase the amount of smegma buildup, and that increases the women's chance after intercourse of becoming infected. And going into that, the male's external genitals consist of the penis, urethra, and scrotum. So the penis contains the root of the body and the glands, and allows the male to become erect, ejaculate, and urinate. Their urethra is the single narrow tube that conducts urine and semen from the bladder and the ejaculatory ducts to the glands, which is the head of the penis. And then the scrotum is what holds the testicles. It's a loose pouch of skin that contains the testes, and it provides protection to them. So yes, that is it.
All right. All right, so we're gonna break here, and then you guys can do your rebuttals and your final closing arguments when we get back from break. So like I said, I'm gonna be gone. It might be a little longer than 15 minutes, but I have up here your urinary slides for you to fill out. So you can grab one of these so that you can label your organs of the urinary system, because we're gonna start getting into that later. And you know you have your vocabularies to do and all that fun stuff. And I will be back.
We will see you when you're back.
I'm sorry, Alex.
I'm writing down because I don't want to forget.
But first, break 6:15. So you be back at 9:15, 9:20, but everybody did
Such an amazing job. Amazing. Yeah.
Okay, we
I thought you was somebody else.
It's open. I don't know, it was open yesterday.
real. Take a break, Andre. Counsel? Counsel?
Then they are sore and painful.
Yeah.
Men don't have that issue. But then, yeah, because they still actually have a chance to rebuttal back to what we say.
Are you taking a selfie?
Yeah. Sent to my brother his birthday.
Oh.